After Earl Thomas was released, reports cited that the Cowboys were favorites to sign the All-Pro safety. This morning, Ian Rappaport reported the Cowboys will not attempt to sign the safety. But after that came out, Jerry Jones said during a radio interview that he strongly disputed the report and said he is the only one who knows. So, Shannon, what do you make of Jerry's response here? He's in charge.
I don't believe they're going to sign him. Jerry, because I'm scared. You know how Jerry works. When Jerry wants somebody, the ink is barely dry on the waiver wire in the league's office, and he's already got the guy on the plane coming to Dallas. Jerry's probably made some phone calls, and he's probably got the word of how things ended up and how badly they ended up. And Mike McCarthy, if I'm not mistaken, said yesterday we're happy with the safeties that they had in camp. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Could be wrong, but I don't believe the Cowboys are going to sign him. Skip. I really don't.
I now do. I believe it was significant that Jerry Jones went out of his way publicly to shoot down the report that he is not interested in Earl Thomas. In fact, I believe this would be a strong indication from the Jerry that I know that he is about to take the plunge, and it will be a plunge on signing Earl Thomas, because obviously it is a huge risk.
No, not to Jerry, though. To someone else. Because Skip. The guy did you sign Greg Hardy.
I know, but
I
got that. Those are different issues.
Yes.
But Earl caused a string of incidents and issues in Seattle and in Baltimore.
The guy you had a lot of problems with in Dallas, Charles Haley. I love Charles. Ain't no way Earl had more problems coming from those two places than what Charles had from San Francisco.
Just San Francisco.
Yes. And you know, and we don't need to get into it, but you know and I know.
I know all those problems.
Yes.
And Jerry did plunge on that deal, and Carmen Policy will forever have egg on his face because he gave the last piece to the Super Bowl puzzle to Dallas within his own conference. The player that came back to beat him and bite him was Charles Haley. And Barry Switzer would often tell me, Charles is as fine a player as I've ever coached. I love that they bonded. They were great together.
But in that locker room, they couldn't control him.
Okay.
He went to a veteran locker room where they had other guys, and he blended well.
I got it. Earl Thomas, obviously, is from the state of Texas. He went to the University of Texas. He has always been very open about, I want to play for the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
Maybe he's to the point in his career where he's starting to hang just by the thinnest of ropes off the edge of the cliff right now, where he's in danger of being out of the league, because when those coaches give up on you and those two GMs, both of them highly respected, say, no mas, we're done with you, then I'm afraid you might be on your last legs.
I'll be honest, all the way 100. I'm going to keep it real, keep it buck right here, as we say in the community. Skip, I would have a problem with it if I was a teammate. If I'm in Seattle and he runs up the steps and says, come get me, I'm going to have a problem with that.
After Jason Garrett.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to have a problem with that.
Well, they had a lot of problems with him.
If you are a free agent, I got no problem with that. But when you're in this locker room and we're still playing games, I need your focus here. I need your mind here.
I got it.
So I would have a problem with
He wound up shooting the middle finger at Pete Carroll as he was carted off after he broke his leg against Arizona back 3 years ago.
Yeah, but you hear all these stories coming out. The guy's showing up late because he got to go get his car washed.
No, I got all of it. It's all awful. It's bad sign after bad sign after bad sign. But in the end, maybe if he's on his last legs as a Dallas Cowboy, he's got to be on his best behavior. Maybe if he's on a make-good deal, because that's what they're trying to haggle right now. You like a Cam Newton, low base.
You have some incentives.
Yeah.
You're not the days of getting a big contract, Skip, I believe those are over.
Well, he just got $38 guaranteed million from the Baltimore Ravens.
Yes.
Biggest contract that organization had ever given a non-quarterback.
Yeah.
So was that not a license to misbehave?
And in that locker room, Skip, like I said, I know the culture of that locker room. I like to think I helped establish a little small piece of it.
You did.
And you can't get along in that locker room. Skip, you missing meetings, you missing walkthroughs, you blow an assignment, the dude call you out and you punch him.
You didn't just blow an assignment. You blitzed out of nowhere for no apparent reason.
And the dude says, bro, if you come to meetings and walkthroughs, I'm good. No, we're not good. And he gets mad and fire up on the boy.
He fired on him.
Like I'm saying, Skip, I'm still waiting for the Ravens. Somebody to say, you know, Earl was a good dude. Earl was this.
You're not going to hear it. You know, and I know you're not going to hear it. And I don't believe he has been a good dude, but he made the Pro Bowl last year for a team that went 14-2 and had the third best defense in the league last year.
Skip, how you
points allowed.
Think about it. You playing on that defense and you say, well, I don't really like the defense.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Skip, come on.
I got it.
Kind of tough to stand up for.
Welcome to Dallas, Earl.
Guys, will Luka drop his third 40-point game tonight against the Clippers? What is he gonna do? We'll jump in next.
Kawhi differently out there recruiting players, actively recruiting? Because that's what we did with LeBron now. Remember, we killed it. Because see, what LeBron did is that LeBron took all the criticism and then everybody else that did it was okay with it. KD caught flack, not for leaving, but for going to where he went to. I believe if KD had gone anywhere else, I don't believe he would have got the criticism that he got for going to Golden State. When I look at this, Skip, I look at it as Kawhi's looking, who's free? Jimmy Butler was free. Kyrie Irving was free. Kevin Durant was free. Remember, Paul George has just signed a 4-year contract. Paul George is not free. So he's thinking to himself, I can't get Paul George. Paul George just signed a 4-year contract. How does he know Paul George is even available? Paul George wasn't available. It wasn't until he reached out to Paul George that Paul George called Sam Presti and wanted out of the contract. So I don't believe this was he wanted. It would have been very interesting had Paul George, Jimmy Butler been free at the simultaneous. Would he have reached out to Jimmy Butler first? But for me, Skip, I'm confused. That makes it seem like Jimmy Butler's going to the finals and the NBA finals and all this. He's tough. He's a very good player. But I believe Paul George is a better player than Jimmy Butler. So for me, I'm not reading too much into this. I think, this notion that, he would have rather had Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler was a free agent. Kyrie, Kevin Durant were free agents. Paul George had 3 years remaining on a contract that he had just signed. So he's thinking to himself, I can't pry him away from OKC. That probably didn't come to the very end after he had kicked the tires on those guys. And they're like, nah, we're not going with you. And that's when he turned his attention to Paul George, a Southern California kid. And with the rest is, as we say, is history.
Paul George is a better regular season player than Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is a better in-your-foxhole playoff player. That's who you want with you. Jimmy Butler has turned that Miami franchise around. They are fun to watch, and he is the driving force.
Okay, then the second round.
Okay, and they're playing the odds-on favorite.
Right.
The team that won the most games in the NBA. And let's see what happens, because I like their chances. I think it's going to be very interesting. I think they're going to take this to the wire against the Bucks.
They're tough now. They're tough.
They are tough.
Spo has done a great job coaching. He didn't get nearly the credit that he deserved because he had Wade, LeBron, and Chris Bosh. But Skip, he can coach.
Yep.
He can coach.
Well, he proved that a long time ago. So I don't have any problem with anything LeBron has ever done. I don't know who's condemning him, but...
Skip, come on. Charles Barkley, you've heard all the great players, and you've said it. Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson would have never wanted to team up. Now you don't have a problem with it when you said repeatedly that the other greats wouldn't have done it because you mentioned that because you have a problem with it.
Okay, but when LeBron left Cleveland to join forces with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, I said, congratulations, you needed to do that. He couldn't go solo. He couldn't pull it off by himself. He'd proven that. He'd gotten swept by the Spurs. He'd had a tough run. He had flamed out against the Magic and flamed out against the Celtics and been accused by his owner of quitting against the Celtics. It was a disaster at the end of his run in Cleveland. So I congratulated him. He needed that.
Getting swept as a 22-year-old against 4 future Hall of Famers, that's nothing to be down about.
Hey, if you're transcendent, you win one game.
Well, Michael Jordan didn't.
Well, against that Celtics team was really the best Celtics team ever.
He's transcended, though. Remember,
he scored 63 points in game one and
called
lost.
An L. Donovan Mitchell had 57 and called an L. At the end of the day, hold on, is it about stats or is it about W? Because that's what you're telling me now.
They were the 8th seed. They were terrible. He'd broken his leg. He didn't even play in the regular season. I don't know what more you want from him.
Man,
Larry Bird called him God disguised as Michael Jordan.
All I'm saying is you said you didn't have a problem and he needed to do that. But in the same breath, You said Michael, Larry, and Magic would have never done that.
They just wouldn't have done it.
But you said that, so in other words, you're casting doubt. You're looking down on LeBron. You had to do this, LeBron, so that you must not be great. So clearly you have a problem with it.
I don't have a problem with that. I'm just accepting LeBron for what he is. He is not nearly as mentally tough as Michael Jordan.